All right, folks, welcome to another live Q&A. It is Monday. It is 4 o'clock here in Arizona. It's probably an hour earlier for you wherever you are. Yes, we do not change time zone. Unfortunately, the rest of the country does, but we have to keep it at 4 o'clock local. So going forward until the next time change, it is going to be at whatever time it is where you are. So 6 o'clock on the East Coast and 3 o'clock on the West Coast. So welcome everyone. We have a few folks in the chat. I'm going to say hi in a minute. But some updates. There's been an interesting article that came out with somebody who was charged over $200,000 for harassing homeless people with their drone. But really, that's not an FA offense. It's an idiotic thing to do, but he was really charged for flying over people repeatedly. So we're going to be talking about this on Friday in News Update, digging a little bit more, but I'm sure a lot of you have seen some of this going on various news outlets that have been reporting on this. Anyways, let's say hi to some folks in the chat. We have Thorol Inspired. We have Hike and Fly, None Your Business. Curtis Warren is here. Eric Reifschneider. We have David Kirk, Thumb Drone. We have Bob Rock, Dean Schaefer, Northern Drone Guy, Old Deadeye, Mark K, James Cox. We have Bill H. What's up, Bill? Bill has been one of our followers since pretty much the beginning. I can remember seeing Bill and seeing his comments on the YouTube channel very, very early on. So thank you, Bill, for continuing to be here and joining us. We have Tim Voice, Crypto Chiron, Sparky. Sparky is here. What's up, Sparky? Your keys are in the fridge, Sparky. We have Curtis. We have Avion Lens Air. And we have what else? Rick Hone is here. James Andrew, Stinker, 337. A lot of folks. Italian Ways I see here scrolling. Jillian from the community is here as well. Wolfpack 46. What's up, Wolfpack? Roaming the Americas. Shoot FPV. Anyways, lots of folks. Thank you for joining in. It is Monday. We will not have a live on the following Friday, this coming Friday. We'll have news update in the morning, but we will not have a live in the community happy hour on Friday. We will be on our way to Las Vegas for the Vegas Drone Show. So that's exciting. We'll be there on Friday, Saturday night, back on Sunday. And then on Monday, I think we'll have a live, but we have visitors, right?
With a guest?
With a guest, possibly with a guest. We'll see.
Let's do it.
Maybe a guest appearance. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun. Okay. Well, shall we get to the questions? I think we shall get to the questions. None Your Business says, Greg, got one for you for the upcoming BVLOS regulation. Do you think this will be feasible to achieve financially speaking for small drone businesses that are not rolling in the money, so to speak? I mean, I think I've had this discussion, maybe not here and obviously not today, but I think the Part 108, what everybody's calling Part 108, which we should see the draft, the proposed rule by the end of the year or early next year. I think those rules are going to be a bit more restrictive than I think people would like to see. I think mostly because of the equipment that's going to be required on board or on the ground. So it's not going to be as easy as saying, okay, I applied for a waiver, or I did this and that, and then now I can fly beyond visual line of sight. I think it's going to require some sort of special remote ID. You can call it network remote ID, but I think at least that. And then I think it's going to require some sort of DAA equipment, detect and avoid equipment, so that the drone can figure out that there is other aircraft in the area, whether that looks like something on board the aircraft, something on the ground. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as we would like. But maybe I'm wrong. I don't have any insider information, by the way. I'm just making this up based on educated guess, discussions, my knowledge of aviation in general. But we'll see. Eric says, unless specifically requested by a client, is there a reason to not to film in H.265 on the Mavic 3? Not really. I mean, not really. Yeah, I mean, and I'm guessing you're asking 265 versus 264 versus some kind of RAW. The Mavic 3 doesn't have RAW, but yeah. I would recommend shooting in log, with that being said. So log, which is different than H.265 is the codec. Log is the color profile. I think color profile log in H.265 and you'll do just fine. Are we still recording in H.265 or what are we doing now, Ethan?
We are doing ProRes.
ProRes still, okay. So ProRes is the other option on some drones. The Mini 3, not all of them can record in ProRes, only the Pro model can record in ProRes. ProRes adds a little bit more weight to your file, makes it a little bit bigger file. But we find that with our process, it works pretty well for what we do. We're also recording for the long term, so we want to have the best possible quality. But no, for most people, I don't think ProRes is needed. It's also a bit more of a flow to do that. Time change screwed everyone up. What's time change? Sorry. Okay, I get off my soapbox. I think time change is the dumbest thing we've ever done. By the way, time change kills people, and I'm not being a conspiracy theorist. During time change, there is actually an increase in heart attacks recorded in the country, and it literally kills people, which is kind of amazing. James Andrews says, good evening, everyone. Passed my 107 on Thursday. Congratulations. Thinking of buying another drone. Currently have the Mini 4 Pro with the RC2 controller. Can you buy an Air 3 or Air 3S without a controller? The drone alone? Ooh, I don't remember. In the past, you could. For other drones, you'd have to go on the website, James. I'm sorry. I don't want to give you the wrong information, but I don't remember. The team is looking right now. You don't see it without the controller? Yeah, it looks like you can buy it with the RCN3, which is the new controller, but that's the smallest package, which is interesting. I don't know why DJI... They did that for a while, and then now all of a sudden they're not doing that anymore. So yeah, it looks like, sorry, in the US, you have to buy it with a controller. Next question from Stinker337 says, when it comes time to renew your Part 107, does a person have to retest again? So the FAA changed this a couple years ago, where you no longer have to take a test in person at a testing center to retest, to get current. You can do that on the FAA website. Jason is going to put a link in the description. That's ALC 677. That's a course that you can do for free on the FAA safety website. And at the end of it, you'll get a certificate of completion, and you'll have to do a test, a written test online. It's open book. Can't really fail it. So just do the training. Travis says it's East Coast and Midwest thing when it comes to the time change each year. On a different note, is Skyio getting a dose of karma? It certainly kind of looks like it. For those of you that are not familiar with what Travis is saying, is that DJI is getting, I would call it tat for tat, right? DJI is getting sanctioned by China for selling drones to Taiwan. And what China did is they shut down manufacturing of their batteries. And so Skyio no longer has a battery provider at the moment. Their batteries were made in China. Little bit of I don't know, I even know how to say it politely, but interesting to see an American manufacturer that has been so vocal about Chinese drones get caught with a sole provider of batteries in China and losing that provider, which means a lot of repercussions, by the way. You know, people might find it ironic in the sense that, you know, there's been all of this work against DJI in the US, and then all of a sudden China is doing the same thing against a US manufacturer. But the the downside is that who is going to get hurt by this are the folks that are using Skyio drones because they have to use Skyio drones. So they've been forced by their regulators to use Skyio drones and purchase an X10 or something similar, because that's really the only option available mostly to do what they have to do. And now they're only going to have access to one battery with any new purchase of drones that they have. Nobody can do their job with only one battery. So what this means is that you, the general public, and myself are going to get hurt by public safety agencies not having access to equipment that they need to take care of the public, which is kind of mind-blowing in a sense, because now we're shooting ourselves in the foot by passing these laws of, blocking DJI, and before we're ready to make the migration to DJI. And I hate to say I told you so, because, and I'm not the only one, obviously a lot of people in the industry, but we have not looked at our supply and we have not looked at our capabilities here in the United States before we decide to go and shut down DJI. So here we go. Now the public safety agencies are going to be the one that are going to get hurt because of all of this. And that sucks. It sucks because the general public is getting hurt because of this. So I will get off my soapbox now and talk about something else. Magic Dragon Drone says, hello. Does anyone have any updates on the whole customs holding DJI products? I have a DJI Neo that has been held by customs since October 17. That's ridiculous. October 17. Holy crap. That's over 2 weeks. I have not seen any updates. I have still seen people that are complaining about it. Are they telling you anything? I guess Magic Dragon Drone, are they telling you that you need to provide documentation? Are you bugging them every day? I would continue to bug them every single day. Tim Voice says, why does it sound like if you register your drone 107, it makes it sound like you need your what? I think I'm missing a portion of the question here. I'm sorry, Tim. Why does it sound like if you register your drone, it makes it sound like you need your... So I don't know. I don't know. I don't understand the question, but I'm going to say you have to register your drone to fly under Part 107, regardless of the weight. Tim also says, what's an inexpensive drone for SAR? I would say find an older Mavic 2 Enterprise, possibly. Thermal, that has the thermal. Find an Autel Evo 2 Dual that has the thermal camera on it, or just the Evo 2 thermal. Well, no, you want the dual because you want the two things. Thermal is going to be very useful for search and rescue. So I would look at these. They're older models, obviously, that as long as you can find batteries for the Mavic 2, I would look into that. The Autel Evo 2 Dual is a great platform as well. Oh, it's okay. So why does it sound like if you register, it makes it sound like you need your Part 107 certificate? So there's no reason to register your drone under Part 107 unless you have your Part 107 certificate. So that's, if you don't have a Part 107 certificate, then there's no reason for you to register under Part 107. You just need to register recreationally if your drone is over 250 grams. That's only for recreational. Super 8 Mil says, do you think you will do a deep dive on the FreeFly Astro? It's a good question. If we can get our hands on one, possibly. We typically do deep dives on drones that are used by a fairly large number of people. It takes a lot of efforts to create a deep dive course. So I know the FreeFly Astro is a pretty niche drone, which is a great drone, by the way, a great platform. But yeah, we'll see. See Vic in the comments. What's up, Vic? Philip says, any update on the Neo goggle combo? Well, there's a rumor that DJI is coming up with goggles. We don't know yet when they're going to be released, but we'll find out. But yes, there is a rumor for some sort of cheaper version of goggles that should be coming out. We haven't. I don't think we've seen pictures yet online. I think we've only seen just a rumor of the the number and N3, I think, or 3N, something like that. Would you do a video course or a discussion workshop in the community concerning which agency and which type of accident you should report to each? We have lectures in the course about that. We also have a free YouTube video on our YouTube channel, Bob. So go take a look at that. We did kind of a deep dive on that and what the requirements are. I think maybe Jason can put a link if he can find it in our list. James says, what are some featured attractions at the drone show, guessing for Vegas? It's going to be mostly a meet and greet with people flying around, some discussions. I think they have a full schedule on their website at the drone show. And then, of course, coming to see us. That's the attraction. Rick's iView says, I'm aware that you can fly a drone 400 feet above a high obstacle if you are within 400 feet laterally. If you are in Class D airspace with a 50-foot limit, can you fly 50 foot over an obstacle? No, that's a great question, Rick. Very confusing piece of regulation. It only applies outside of controlled airspace. If you are in an area that requires lands, that 50 foot is 50 foot above the ground. Period. You cannot add it to the height of obstacles. When you get to Lance request, there's a fine print in there. There's a little bit of text that tells you the rules of getting that Lance approval. And in there, it tells you that you cannot add it to the height of an obstacle. And by the way, this is only available to drone pilots under Part 107. That rule only applies to Part 107. Recreational pilots can only fly up to 400 feet in uncontrolled airspace. In airspace that needs authorization, they can only fly as high as the grid number. So thank you for asking that, Rick. That's a question that comes up. That's a very misunderstood piece of information. Thumb Drone says, Greg for Administrator 2024. I will start making the signs and we can put them in our lawns as soon as tomorrow is over, right? The lawn sign season is over. We can put new signs. You know what mine says in my driveway? It says Jekyll and Hyde 2024. I hope they win. Well, whichever one. Which is kind of what this whole election is about, right? Jake. Anyways, I don't want to get political. It's funny. Thumb Drone says, have you or your team ever had a drone just flat out fall out of the sky? As a matter of fact, yes, we have. Yeah, the company. Someone in the company. I will still not... well, I'll take the blame because I was the pilot in command. But yes, we had a drone during a video shoot fall out of the sky because someone in the company that no longer works here, not for that reason. Well, not for that reason. Set one of the settings in the drone so that when you brought the two control stick inward, like you would for turning on the drone, it would shut down the motors. So you have two options, by the way, for these settings. You can do it so that the motor shut off in case of an emergency only, or manually. So we had ours set up manually because that employee had set that up and forgot to return it. Of course, it is my fault 100% because I didn't go in the settings to verify before I flew, which should have been part of the checklist and wasn't. And so I was in the middle of doing a shoot, and of course I was descending and yawing, and at the same time I was turning and trying to aim the camera at the subject, and all of a sudden it got very quiet, and the drone just fell down probably about 100 and some feet onto literally granite. This was in the Granite Dales in Prescott, onto granite, and just blew up. This was a Mavic 3 Cine. There's the Cine version, the expensive one, before the Pro Cine came out. And yeah, down to pieces. So, not fun. But yes, so it wasn't really flat out fall out of the sky. It was really our fault. It did what it was supposed to do based on, yeah, that's what happened. Indy 125 says there is a railroad bridge that crosses a street with traffic. Railroad bridge that crosses the... Okay. There's no way a drone can fall down through the bridge to the street below. As a recreational flyer, can I fly the length of the bridge? A rail... Yeah, you can fly. I mean, that's protected, right? That's protecting the traffic. So yeah, absolutely. As long as... So I will add one more thing. Keep in mind that as the drone moves, if you lose a motor or a battery at any time, make sure that the drone will fall on that bridge, not on traffic. So you could be flying not over someone and then lose a battery, and then now the drone falls on someone. So always have a little bit of a cone if you want underneath it. I'm going to read that the French way. Avion Lens Air says, I'm not sure if anyone asked if you're flying FPV with the DJI goggles. 3, if you're using the pass-through view, would that require a VO? Well, yes, it would, because, and you're right, it is not practical, because the problem with the goggles 3 and the pass-through is that it's not on all the time, and it's the field of view is very, very restrictive, which would make it not the same as human vision. It would be restricting your vision. So my interpretation is that no, it would not be considered visual line of sight. Kyle Miller, is that the Kyle Miller? Yes. It is the Kyle Miller. What's going on, man? Kyle says, CEO really having an interesting time on social after this. Yes, I think Kyle is talking about the CEO of Skyio, Adam Bry. He has been on the offensive, kind of, about people that responded to his posts. He's made several posts on social media, and I think he's been taking a lot of heat from a variety of people, including folks that, said this should have been something that the company would have expected, and that they should not have a single supplier, which I have to agree with. It's obviously a critical component to the drone, in the sense that without battery, the drone can't fly. So having that 100% supplied from China when you're in the middle of a war against, Chinese manufacturers is probably short-sighted. Now, obviously, we also don't know if they were in the process of trying to find a new supplier, which I'm sure takes a lot of time. But yeah, he's definitely been taking a lot of slack, and he's also been pretty aggressive against the folks that are vocal against him. So take it as it is. I wanted to mention something. I want to go back real quick here. So FreeFly, we talked about FreeFly. FreeFly has their own batteries that are not made in China. They're one of the few out there that have batteries that are not made in China, as I understand it. PMEM, if that's how you say it. My Air 3 has been stuck at custom, and they are requesting and provide proof that there was no forced labor involved. Not sure how I do that. You tell them that those drones are manufactured in Shenzhen and not in the area where forced labor is supposedly happening in China. And you can tell them that DJI doesn't have a manufacturing plant in the area where there is supposedly forced labor. And I say supposedly because I can't verify it, but the claim is that forced labor is happening in a certain part of the country. It's like saying, telling Boeing, hey, we know that there's forced labor in Florida, and your airplanes are manufactured in Washington State. Prove to us that you're not using forced labor in Florida. Well, yeah, we're making all of our airplanes in Washington. I'm just using that as an analogy, but that's kind of what the situation is right now. James Andrews says, does DJI have Black Friday sales as other merchant the day after Thanksgiving? Yes, they do. And so do we, by the way. We have a pretty cool Black Friday coming up. So if you're looking to add more courses, this is like a segue to our sponsor. Wow, look at that. I'm like Linus. Thank you for the segue, James. So yes, we will have a Black Friday sale as well. We will be unveiling pretty soon, in a couple weeks. So stay posted. If you're looking to buy more drones, we will have some really good deals. We have good deals every year, but I think this year might be the best deal we've ever done. Actually, huh? I think this year is the best deal we've ever had. I'm being serious about this. I don't think you're going to be able to beat that. Lupita says, I failed to do my research on the whole drone rules, but I've done all that is required. My question is, if post my drone footage on my Instagram just for me and my friends? Yes, you can, Lupita. That's not a problem. It's all about how the rules that you follow when you take the drone footage. So fly recreationally, post your footage for your friends to enjoy, and you will be fine. Official Green Diamond says, is posting video taken on my drone on YouTube require Part 107 even if I'm not being monetized? That's kind of the same answer as Lupita. Nope, you're good to go. You don't need Part 107 as long as the purpose of the flight was recreational, you're good, and your channel is not monetized. Oren says, crashing my Air 3S. No. That's sad. That sucks. Brand new drone. Crashing my Air 3S on a branch that it was supposed to avoid easily with the obstacle avoidance makes me think, are we all exposed to the YouTube creating videos that painting over reality? I don't think so, Oren. We get the drones from DJI, and I'll tell you, we're a multi-million-dollar company that doesn't need DJI to send us drones. We can't afford the drone. So when you watch a video from us, if the drone is crap, I'll tell you that the drone is crap. If the obstacle avoidance doesn't work, I'm going to tell you that the obstacle avoidance doesn't work. We have never lied in a review of a drone in order to get clout with DJI or whatever it is. We can afford the drones to test them if we need to. If they don't want to send them to us, we'll buy them anyway and we'll post the video. So, and that's true with anyone out there. That's why we don't have sponsors on our videos, because we don't need them. So when you watch our content, I cannot tell you for the other providers out there, but when you watch our content, there's no way that anybody's influencing what we put out. We've had people sending us drones that were crap, and instead of really doing a video, I just decided not to review it because I was going to destroy the company, and I didn't want to do that. So we sent it back. But yeah, so anyways, as far as the obstacle avoidance from DJI in general, it is really good. It is actually shockingly good. We have not tested the Air 3S obstacle avoidance just yet, but it's got to be on par with the rest. It is possible that there's a bug somewhere and that, it did it. So I would send the drone to DJI and tell them what happened and see what they say. Next, Eric says, looking at adding an Air 3S as a backup drone to my Mavic. That's a great idea. Thought on the lower bit rate. Are people making more out of it than it is? Yes. Yeah. The bitrate discussion. So my question is, what are you going to do with the final product? Bitrate is important. Bitrate is the amount of data that is being recorded per second with the drone, and it varies a little bit. But at one point, we get to a level where how much does it matter that we drop by a certain amount? Okay. I remember early on the first Mavic that came out, and bitrate was, I'm pretty sure it was 60 megabit per second. And that was not great. But then after that, I had never worried about the bitrate after that. Just the quality of the footage is just there in general. And think about also when you watch a video on YouTube, I think YouTube compresses to 6 or 8, I think 6 to 8 megabit per second range. So that's what you're seeing on YouTube as the final product. And in most cases, it just looks fine. I'm not saying that drones should be at that level because obviously, you need to do editing and stuff to it. But think about it. It's kind of like the battle to more pixels. I remember when digital cameras came out initially, my first camera was a Canon 10D. Go look it up. That was one of the first digital cameras. I think that was Canon's second digital camera. And I want to say it was 10 megapixel maybe. And of course, back then, megapixels made a lot of sense. But since as we go further and further, how many more megapixels do we need on camera? So the battle to megapixels has kind of changed over time to different things. Again, I'm not saying that bitrate is not important, but you have to think about what is the range that is acceptable. Official Green Diamond says, I keep getting worried about this, so I need to know what happens when you get caught flying your drone without meeting one of the drone law for trust. Well, it depends. If it's your first time, the FAA is going to just give you a little bit of education and then say, don't do it again. Then you don't do it again. So that's really it. If you start to argue with the FAA or basically tell them that they have no authority and that they can try and come and get you, that's how you end up with $100,000+ in fine from the FAA. Just don't poke the bear, right? Just say, I'm sorry, I won't do it again, and done. None of your business says, does that mean there's an opening at Pilot Institute? I'm guessing that's about my comment earlier. Nope, that opening has been filled. PMEM says, if you want to film a high-rise in the city and I have my Part 107, will I just need to get Lance approval? I mean, and of course, follow all the other rules under Part 107, but yeah, just don't fly over people. Don't, get approval to fly in the airspace. Don't fly higher than you're supposed to, and all of that good stuff. Official Green Diamond says, I heard that the Mini 4 Pro has a light, not colored, but an actual light. And Nebraska laws says that if I fly at night, I need a strobe light. Would that be considered ideal for to use the built-in light? No, the lights on the DJI drones, unless you have an enterprise drone, do not qualify for the night light, the strobe light. And it's not just the Nebraska laws, by the way. This is an FAA regulation that you need to have a light on top of your drone to fly at night, recreational or non-recreational. So please, please, please. Tavin says, will there ever be an airplane CFII course, CFMEI course, and an ATP course? Is that even possible to do? So is it in the plan? So we have a CFI course that's on the way, Tavin. CFII course, you don't really need that. That's more using the instrument course on top of the CFI course. Most people will go through CFII pretty easily. And then MEI course, multi-engine, same thing. You're going to do, we have a multi-engine course, so you'd be using that knowledge to apply to CFI. These are easier add-on after you do CFI. CFI is definitely the important one. I know this is a drone question Q&A, but this is an airplane question. So if you don't understand what I just said, don't worry about it. As far as ATP, eventually down the road, yes, we will do ATP. We're getting ready to do dispatch, which is actually fairly close to ATP, so we'll be working on that. BEM1962 says, any place that you know of where it would be cool to fly in Melbourne, Florida? There next week. Interestingly, I have never flown my drone in Melbourne because I left before the drone craze over there. So I got my first drone when I moved to Arizona. Cool places. I mean, the Indian River is pretty cool over there. There's a ton of parks. Just be careful with the airspace because a lot of the river is in there. Obviously, the beach is right there as well. There's trails, there's parks. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's any shortage of cool places to fly in Melbourne, Florida. Jim says, I have passed 107. When using my Mini 4 Pro, I use the Plus battery, so I have remote ID. If I get a Neo just for fun and recreational only, do I have to use the remote ID module? So, Jim, the answer is it depends on the rules that you follow to fly recreationally. So let me explain. You can fly recreationally by following the recreational rules, USC 49 USC 44809. In which case you would not need a remote ID module, or you can fly for fun using Part 107 rules. Part 107 doesn't dictate the kind of flying that you can do. It means you can fly for fun under Part 107. But if you do that, then you need to have a remote ID module on top of it. So, and to register the drone. you don't need to register it recreationally. So my recommendation would be the Neo becomes a fun drone only. It doesn't get registered. It doesn't need remote ID. Then you can go fly it for fun anytime you want. That would be my recommendation. Stephen Belt says, is the Autel Evo Max 3T thermal a drone that bridges the gap between the Mavic 3T and the Mavic and the Matrice 30T? The Evo Max 3T is closer to the Matrice 30, I would say. I would consider it more of a challenger with the Matrice than the Mavic. I don't know that it's an in between the two. Although I think it's a little bit smaller as far as footprint, but yeah. Spooky bread animation. I want to know what kind of animations they make. I bet you there's spooky bread in there. Oh, really? Okay, I like that already. Is it legal to have a video drone flying over your house, but you can also see the other people's houses? Would it be legal to post that on a YouTube video? Yes, it's fine. I would obviously be respectful of folks. If you can see inside of their house, obviously you're not supposed to really do that. So either blur or, but yes, it is, technically legal. Official Green Diamond says, is test flying in an indoor area such as a garage to test a drone a good idea? No, especially near a garage. No, I wouldn't. I mean, just take it outside. Just because you never know how it's going to respond. If it starts to go one side or the other, you want an open area, especially to do some test flying. That would be my recommendation. Is it true that's is it AI Stinger or Al Stinger? I think AI Stinger. Is it true that you cannot fly closer than 3,000 feet from an active military vessel? Yes, it is true. We actually had folks from that branch of the government reach out to us and ask us to make to spread the word about this. And so, yes, you cannot fly too close to military vessels. They will get you in trouble. And they told us that they've gotten after people for doing that. So, yeah. Spooky says, not Sparky, Spooky. We have Spooky and Sparky. Great, Scott. All right. How would you know if you're flying over a restricted area or over someone's house when they should not like your drone flying over their house? Are there resources for that? So restricted areas are very specific. They're typically put in place for national security purposes to keep something secure, not somebody's house, unless you live next to Camp David, sorry, which would, I think, has its own restricted area, but typically there's no restricted area over people's house. So, but in order to find out what where restricted areas are, you can go to your favorite app. You can download an app such as Aloft Air Aware or Air Control. If you're a recreational pilot, Aloft Air Aware is now before you fly compliant, by the way. That just happened on Friday. But yes, that would be what I would recommend, using one of these apps, and it will tell you. Thank you, Wolfpack. NOTAM 3-6405 is the NOTAM that talks about flying over Navy ships, military vessels. Thank you for the reference. I would definitely recommend looking at that. NOTAM 3-64 / I should say 3/6405. Oren follows up, says, not you, Greg, all the other channels that are doing reviews for a living, walking in the forest, so you know. So here's a great person to, there's a lot of people that I trust the reviews that they make. But our friend, I'm trying to find 5 different names at the same time. Our friend Billy Kyle does great reviews. So does our friend Ken Dono from Original Dobo. As far as somebody who tests the obstacle avoidance, sorry, I'm having a big brain fart. The obstacle avoidance system is the gentleman out of the Netherlands that we interviewed on the drone channel. Who was that? DC Rainmaker. He does amazing reviews, has done them for years, has a very strict code for doing these reviews, and you can trust anything that he does with 100%. Like I said, I've been following him for years. Before he did any kind of drone reviews, he did watch reviews for running and for cycling, and I was into this very, very deep into this years ago, and he was always my resource, and he's a great person, and his reviews are great. So DC as in Washington DC Rainmaker, he lives in Holland now, but used to live in the United States. He's an American guy, but he does really good stuff, and I know he tests a lot of the obstacle avoidance stuff, so you can trust him for sure. And the two other person I mentioned. What are your thoughts on the possible Mavic 4 Pro release dates? I don't have any release dates, and I'm hoping for multi-LiDAR setup, built-in strobe, ability for the camera to look up 90 degrees. Multiple LiDAR setup, I don't know what that means if you're talking about a LiDAR capture, like a LiDAR sensor, or using LiDAR to detect obstacles. I don't think it would be unrealistic to think about multiple LiDAR setups. Sorry, I'm very uncomfortable in this chair for some reason. Multi-LiDAR setup, I don't think it's unreasonable to think about that. And then built-in strobe lights, we haven't seen that on consumer drones. We've seen them on the enterprise drones. I don't know that we're going to see it. Maybe I'm wrong. And then for the camera to look up 90 degrees, again, it's going to depend on the design of the lens, but I mean, we've seen drones. I'm pretty sure some of the older Skydios do that. I know most of the Parrot drones do that, so I don't see why they couldn't do that as well. I'm pretty sure, Spooky says, I'm pretty new to flying drones. What drones would you recommend for me to purchase? I mean, my go-to for drones is always the DJI Mini, any of them, the 3 or the 4 that has come out. And then also the Air 2S, 3, 3S, those are all great drones that will last you for a while, that are a great price. I'm sure there's some great deals on Air 3s right now because of the Air 3S that came out. So, oh, in the community? Yeah. Official Green Diamond says, what should I do if someone, mainly a family member, asks me to fly my drone? Should I tell them no, or should I tell them while supervising them? Yeah, supervise them. I think, if you have a GPS drone and you do that in an open area. I mean, I go fly with my kids and they're pretty young, and I let them handle the controls after I take off and let them just move around, and I'm ready to take over if need be. But my 5, almost 6-year-old, he does pretty good with it. It's just not super smooth on the controls yet, but if you're right there to take over, I don't think it's an issue. Ben Pacheco says, I am through with DJI. Mavic Flight Civil Twilight at 25 feet, did all the checks, set the camera to night mode, put it up in the air, and a restriction limited the distance. Well, that's probably because of where you were, so make sure you go through the list and see if you were close to an airport. Would be my guess. I don't know.
It could be also because of GPSs.
Yeah, not enough GPS. Yeah, not enough GPS is another one. Or having it in beginner's mode, but it would tell you on the screen that. Air 3 only is $699. Yeah, that's a great deal. Man, Air 3 is a great platform. Kempton says, what's the update with the DJI versus Pentagon stuff? The latest that we've seen is information about why DJI was put on the, it's called a CMC list, Chinese Military Company list. And the reason why they were put on there is because some folks in China have the same name. Imagine that. Incredible. country with how many, over 1 billion people, and they dare to have duplicate names. No, I'm being facetious. But that's really what happened, is that some people have patents in China for military knowledge technology, and they happen to be named the same as employees that work at DJI. And so the DoD made the connection between the two and said, Joe Smith over there has patent and Joe Smith over there works for DJI. They must be the same people. So DJI is developing Chinese military equipment in the back. As it turns out, so does according to DJI, they're different people, and they have testified that they are different people. I don't think testified is the word. They've said, yeah, they've officially said that they're not the same people. Anyways, people with the same name. Psh. Official Green Diamond says, how does drone insurance, mainly DJI Care, work? I mean, you know, it's kind of like every insurance out there. You pay a premium when you buy the drone, in the case of DJI Care, and then if you crash the drone and it's, you know, it falls under their terms of service, then they'll send you a new drone. It's limited as to how many you can get. I don't know all the details. We don't use DJI Care, but yeah, that would be a good DJ name, DJI Care. You need to have that on your thing over there. AI Stinger says, when confronted with a large bridge with traffic flow, would you consider it safer to fly under the bridge or over the bridge? I mean, if you, I don't know if I'm understanding the question. I would use the option that doesn't require flying over vehicles, because you're not allowed to do that. So that's what I would say. I hope that answers the question. But if you fly, just don't fly over traffic. Keep in mind, flying under a bridge with a drone can be an issue if you lose GPS signal and your drone doesn't know what to do with that. So it depends on the drone model that you have. Pew! Next, Yuli says, man, we are answering a lot of questions today. Yuli says, do you know if the FAA saves the information when and where you flew your drone with remote ID, or the info is only available live to the FAA when flying, not later on? Technically, the remote ID information is only available at the time that you're flying. It's not being saved. With that being said, it is possible, there is technology out there that can potentially, a box that can be put somewhere to record drone flights, and then in that case the data would be saved. I can tell you one thing, having dealt with remote ID for a while, the technology is not great. The apps are not great to use. So I don't know. I don't think it's a really reliable piece of technology, but that's just my personal opinion. Paul Clifton says, FlightWave Edge 130 seems very unique in the experience. I have never heard of it, Paul. So I would be careful with, brands that are not super popular. Read a lot of reviews, but even then, we see so many companies now that have fake reviews. You can quickly see if a review was written. Yeah, I see some items on Amazon, and I go and read the reviews, and I'm like, oh yeah, that is definitely not a real person that wrote this.
It's Red Cat. It's a large VTOL.
Oh, from Red Cat. Oh, interesting. FlightWave Edge 130. I'll have to look it up. If it's Red Cat is a known company. So, sorry, I'm just not familiar with. Red Cat does a lot of military equipment. I'm not really all that interested in the military drone space, so that's not my area. Lennox Q says FPV in national parks. Nope, don't do it. I know it's not legal, but I see tons of footage from national park. Do not do it. That's all I'm going to say. It is illegal for a reason. They will confiscate your drone if they catch you, and then it makes the community look bad. Just don't do it. Xavier says, what apps do you recommend to have when flying your drone? I'm not a big app guy when it comes to drones. I check the weather typically by looking outside, but we also live in Arizona where the weather doesn't change all that much. And then as far as just the app to fly the drone in itself, but we use smart controllers typically. So I don't know. I mean, of course, no, I should take that back. The app, the Aloft Air Control or Air Aware app, those are great apps to have because they provide you with Lance approval. That's really the only app we ever use is the Lance app, personally, that I use. Team Voice says, where's the lava lamp? Yeah, where is the lava lamp? We didn't warm it up?
It's right there.
Oh, it's right there. You guys can't see it. It's off screen, but it's not warmed up. This lamp takes a serious 3 or 4 hours to get the flow going. We've been super busy today. We've been going nonstop. So Spooky says, would Before You Fly be a good app for viewing restricted drone flying area? So the app called Before You Fly is no longer an app. What the FAA has done is they've retired the Before You Fly app and they've turned it into a program where more providers can apply to become Before You Fly compliant. So Aloft Air Aware is Before You Fly compliant with the FAA. It doesn't really tell you much. That hasn't changed what the features are in the AirAware app. This is an app that we work on with Aloft, so I recommend it. It's a great source of information. Wanderlust says, Mini 4 Pro versus Air 3S. Which one would you choose? Is the image quality that much better? I would say it depends on what you're trying to do. Both great platforms. I mean, the Mini 4 Pro is one of the ones that perform the best as far as image quality. Now, I have to say we haven't tested the Air 3S on our charts, so I'm sure there will be a difference. It's a bigger sensor. It's newer technology. So as far as image quality, I would say Air 3S. But at one point, quite frankly, I mean, let's be honest. How much more image quality do you need, especially from drones that have come out that far apart, you know? If you find a good deal on Mini 4 Pro, why not? You know, that's what I'm going to say. Woo. Next, Official Green Diamond says, I heard that the DJI Mini 4 Pro has built-in RID, remote ID with the big battery. That's correct. So do I need to set up the built-in remote? No, you don't need to set it up. If you use the big battery, remote ID will turn on. If you use the small battery, remote ID will turn off. They do all of that inside the software. So there's no on-off button, which is not allowed by the FAA. The FAA prohibits manufacturers for making an on-off button for remote ID. Also, do I need to register a drone above 249 grams? The answer is yes. Spooky says, what would your favorite drone you've flown so far? What's the fastest drone you've flown so far? Fastest drone? Probably some of the FPVs we have. I'm not a fast flyer per se. I like cinematic stuff more than speed. I like speeding in my car, but I don't care for speeding with the drone. Coolest drone we've flown? I don't know. We fly a lot of drones. Favorite drone? Probably the Inspire 3, because I like cinematic drones like that. I mean, yeah, that's up there. It's hard to choose. I always loved the Inspire 2. That's just got a place in my heart because it was cool. What do you say? The Neo. I haven't flown the Neo all that much because I was gone when it got released and then I get sick. So I haven't really got much chance to play with the Neo, quite frankly. Inspire 1, I never had too much time with the Inspire 1. Most of my time was with the Inspire series with the Inspire 2. But the Inspire 3, when we got it for a while, that was pretty darn cool. Spooky said, I just answered that. Steven says, what's the biggest difference between Autel and DJI other than geofencing? There are a couple differences. I mean, Autel hasn't come up with a new consumer drone in quite a while. The last time was the Nano series and the Lite. And that's been a while. I think these are, So I don't know that Autel is going to be releasing a lot more consumer drones. We have heard a lot of feedback about the lack of customer service at Autel. I had to deal with this last week again with another customer of ours who had issues with Autel. It's been going on for a while. They don't have the best reputation for customer service. DJI had that issue years ago. 2 or 3 years ago, you would talk about DJI support. It seems like they have mostly fixed it. Obviously, it's difficult to do customer service. But as far as comparing the two, as far as customer service, I would give the edge to DJI any day for sure. As far as drone quality, great drones, but again, they haven't released anything for the consumer market in a while. So these drones are getting a little bit older. Drone Photo Booth says, when will we get to meet you in LA? Ooh, excited to meet you someday. I'm not a big city person. We don't have any plans to go on the West Coast anytime soon, further than Arizona. Well, actually Nevada, because we're going to Vegas next week. Come and meet us in Vegas. That's not that far. Drone Photo Booth. You can we'll have a trade show there next year, probably 2, that you can come and meet us. So yeah. And then I guess we'll do a couple more questions. We're almost there. Wait, I see Wolfpack says cookies and chocolate. What does that mean? I mean, it's always a good idea, but yes, cookies and chocolate always. I literally looked and I saw cookies and chocolate in the comment. That's all I could read. This is called selective visioning. That's my radar. So is it Al Stinger? I think it's Al Stinger. I don't think it's AI Stinger. I've been saying AI this whole time, but the capital I and the lowercase L look the same. I once had an issue with my old Mavic 2 Pro when flying over water. Upon descending, the drone tried to drop rapidly. Is it a good idea to disable the sensor? Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely, Al. Thank you for bringing that up as well. This is an issue that is in the manual. If you read the actual manual from DJI, all of their drones use a sensor underneath, an infrared sensor underneath the drone to measure the height above the ground, and that's what they use in order to do the landing. But if the drone doesn't really understand where the ground is because it's a reflective surface like water, then it gets confused, and then the drone slowly descends. There's a lot of videos where you can see the drone just getting closer to the ground until it clips the water, and then bam, done, gone. Swimming with the fishies. So yeah, I would say turning it off is a good idea. Don't fly super close to the water. Don't fly that close to the water that it starts to descend is the other tip. Vic says, I always need better quality. I agree. I mean, you do this for a living, but I think on the recreational side of things, at one point, if you're going to only doing videos to post them on social media, you have to think about, how much quality do you get compared to the price that you pay. And I would argue that the majority of people will not find a difference between a clip from a wide angle Air 3 versus a wide angle Mavic Mini 4 Pro. Would you find a difference when you use the 3x lens? Yeah, absolutely. Or the 7x, because that gives you a different perspective. But I think from the same perspective, there you have it. Chris says, what car do you drive? Drive the car with 4 wheels. I drive a Tesla. That's why I drive fast. I have a hard time not driving fast, but I'm careful. Okay, folks, I think this might be the end of it. Any other questions? Leave them in there. Thank you all for joining, for sure. Like I said, we will not be here on Friday because we are gone. We will have news update on Friday. We will be here the following Monday, more than likely, unless we don't post it. But it's a holiday and we have visitors, but I think I would like to have a 1 hour with one of our guests. I think it would be fun to answer questions. And then, yeah, that's it. Tons of great questions. Thank you, folks. 94. This is telling me we had 94 questions today. 94 questions today. Wow, that's impressive. In an hour. Look at that.
I have one last thing.
Yeah, one last thing.
Do you think that the Wingtra is faster than some of our FPV drones? Because it is a fixed wing.
Do I think that the Wingtra? Yeah, I think so. I think the Wingtra can fly a lot faster.
Because we flew that, right?
Yeah.
In the back lot?
Yeah. But what's the rule? 100 miles an hour.
100 miles an hour.
That's right. We have never flown faster than a 99.9 miles an hour. The FA is watching, so I see you over there. Okay. That's it. Thank you, folks. We will see you next time. Thanks for watching, and then have a great week.